Welcome back to Northwest News. In this week's edition, we take a look at local election polls in Maryville, Northwest First Generation Celebration, and more. You're watching Northwest News.
Thanks for tuning in to Northwest News, the show where we provide the latest coverage on the Northwest Missouri State University campus and in the Maryville community. I'm Wiley Ray.
And I'm Libby Ehlers. Before we get into this week's episode, be sure to hit that notification bell for the latest news coverage as well as other KNWT content.
This past week was the 2024 presidential election, and reporter Skyler Stamps traveled to the local polls to cover voters in Maryville performing their civic duty.
Nottoway County voters have made their ways to the polls here in Maryville as another election day is underway. Here on November 5th, millions of Americans across the country are casting their vote for the next president of the United States. It's a close race between Democratic nominee Kamala Harris and Republican nominee Donald Trump. Rachel Day is an election judge here in Maryville and talks a little bit about her involvement in the election process.
As an election judge, I serve mostly we serve in teams of two different parties, checking in people, checking their voter registration, that their addresses are correct, that their IDs are current, or at least meet the expired standards of the state. And we work together as checks and balances to make sure things run smoothly.
Day says Nottoway County does an exemplary job when it comes to elections.
I'm really impressed with how smoothly Nottoway County runs everything. Our county recorder she's responsive on day of when we have questions. Her whole office is really working, but it's a really well-run process. They've got everything in place to make sure that when questions arise, they're not crazy or nothing escalates.
I spoke with a couple of voters after they cast their vote for the next president and why they voted for that candidate. I'm here with Donita, who just cast her vote for Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States with his running mate J.D. Vance. So, Donita, how did you come to vote for Donald Trump in this election?
I really like how he was last time he was there, and the whole feelings hurt thing doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have my feelings hurt than my pocketbook. I think it's a good decision for the economy.
And then how will having Donald Trump in office have a positive impact on our country?
Well, I think he's ran businesses. He's done well. He always enjoys what he does, it seems like, and he's always involving himself. You always see him involved with everything.
And if Kamala Harris does win this election, Donald Trump did not accept the results of the last election, would you as a citizen be willing to accept those results?
Oh, yes. Yes. I think no matter who gets in, we all just need to work hard and work together. That's the end of it.
Another Maryville resident did not want to disclose who he voted for, but why he voted for this candidate. I'm here with Nicholas White, who just cast his vote for this year's election. And Nicholas, how did the voting process go today?
Smooth as ever.
And what's the main thing that you're looking for the candidate that you selected for office?
I would like the candidate I selected to get support. They may or may not win, and I figure as long as I cast my vote, I can voice my concern no matter what happens.
And how will having this person in office have a positive impact on our country as a whole?
If this person gets into office, then hopefully it becomes a voice of reason and not of extremism.
And if your candidate does not win this election, would you be willing to accept the results?
I'll have to accept the results because, even though I'm just one vote, there's millions of other people that have lots of other voices, so their voices also need to be heard.
Hopefully, by the time this airs, we will have named a new president of the United States who will serve us for the next 4 years. For the stories that matter to you, I'm Skyler Stamps reporting for Northwest News.
Hopefully everyone was able to get out and perform their civic duty last Tuesday.
Also happening on campus last week was Northwest's First Generation Student Celebration, which celebrated students who are the first in their family to attend college. You're watching Northwest News.
Creative Services has been lurking in the shadows of student media, giving insight into the hard work behind every mass media student's contribution. We are creating national award-winning commercials promoting KNWT. We animate, navigate, and collaborate to display all of the unseen corners of our media outlets. Our mission is dedicated to showing off KNWT and our great work like never before.
Thank you for sticking with us and welcome back to Northwest News. Last week, reporter Evan Jacobson covered Northwest's First Generation Student Celebration, celebrating students who are the first in their families to continue their education.
Last week on campus, the annual First Generation Celebration took place. The Director of Student Success explains what it takes to put on this event.
We actually start planning a year ahead. So as soon as one gets done, we actually start talking about the date for the next one and a theme, and we try to get a lot of people involved in thinking up the themes. Last year we went out to the instructors of the university seminar classes that teach the first generation sections, and we asked them to poll their class and come up with some ideas for this year. So I think that's where we got the Share Your Story theme as far as people that are involved. As I mentioned, we have a cross-functional team from across the university, so Student Success has been involved for a long time, and we sort of take the lead on it, but we couldn't do it without so many other people. So Human Resources has been involved the past few years, which we love. There's usually somebody from the library involved, which is great because we like to be able to have it in this space because it's a place that the university can come together. In addition, TRIO programs usually has a couple of people on the committee, which makes a lot of sense because TRIO is a federal program that's meant for first generation students.
Being a support system for the first generation students is one of the main reasons the Student Success Center hosts this event every year.
I think the primary reason for doing this is just to celebrate first generation students. So almost 40% of our students on campus are first generation. So it's really a pretty significant amount. And so we really want to make sure that students know that we understand it's not always easy. Sometimes it's a challenge to get to college, and it can be a challenge to be in college and make it through, but we know that even though it's a struggle sometimes, we are thrilled they're here and we're here to support them.
The students who attended wanted to connect with other first generation students and participate in the activities provided.
I decided to come to the event just because I wanted to connect with other first gen students like myself and do some of the activities, like write a letter to someone who inspired you or faculty member. I actually was inspired to write to my grandparents. They've been, even though none of them went to university or college of any sort, they've still pushed me through my whole journey. So I just wanted to show my gratitude and write them a letter.
For the stories that matter to you, I'm Evan Jacobson, Northwest News.
The Student Success Center offers many resources here in Northwest for all students to help promote academic student success. Be sure to reach out to the Student Success Center if you are interested in learning more about the resources they offer by either calling them at 660-562-1695 or via email at studentsuccess@nwmissouri.edu.
This past week, the BD Owens Library held a board game night for students to take a study break with board games, a chance to win door prizes, and snack on popcorn. Reporter Kendall Crawford has more on the event.
This past Thursday, BD Owens Library staff members hosted a board game night for students at Northwest to put the books down for a while and relax. Students were able to play board and card games, enter into prize giveaways, and relax with friends.
So my name is Brandy Brady. I'm the director of the library for 1 whole month so far. And We used to have an outreach librarian, and when they retired, basically I was sort of instigated, hey, I feel like all of us should be involved in planning outreach. And so that way everyone gets to pick something fun that they're excited about. And so that's kind of how, just reworking how we do outreach was sort of how I played the role in getting this started. They did the game night the first time last year, and it was a huge success. So they decided to do it again this semester, and then they also have a day already planned in February. We have a pretty good social media presence right now. We have a really good student worker who does our social media, so it was on Instagram. We reached out to Res Life so they could promote it in the dorms as well. So it really hasn't been. We have a lot of students out there right now, and so clearly it got out where we wanted it to go. I think our biggest challenge is going to be adding more games and making sure they're games that are sort of like, people want some strategy games, but then other people want more simple games that they don't have to figure out the rules very quickly. And so I think our next challenge is going to be, what do we need to add to make it fun for everyone?
I was able to sit down with Lori Martis, a fellow event organizer, to hear about her role in organizing board game night, her thoughts on if they achieved the environment they were looking to create, the overall turnout, and upcoming events being hosted by the library.
Hi, my name is Lori Martis. I'm a research and instructional design librarian at Northwest Missouri Owens Library, and I worked in the previous spring semester on hosting our first board game night. I brought the games, worked on creating a menu of the games and a spreadsheet of the games to check out, things like that, a lot of the logistics, and added it to the university calendar, things like that. People seem to be having fun and laughing and relaxing. We did have descriptions of each game, which we didn't have last time. So, students could look at that, see how many players are needed, things like that, so they could look a little ahead of time. It seems to be going well. People are sticking around and playing. So far, it looks pretty good. It looks like it's close to about the number that we had last year. In the spring, we had about 105 students. So I'm hoping to at least get something similar to that. We are going to, again, have board game night in the spring. We are also working with the wellness group on campus on mini golf. And we also, around the holiday, we always order some crafts and things like that. And so we have things like that out for students to have stress release also.
For the stories that matter to you, I'm Kendall Crawford, reporting for Northwest News.
If you missed board game night this semester, be sure to mark your calendar for February 25th, as the library will be hosting another board game night from 6 to 8 p.m. in the B.D. Owens Library.
Up next, we'll check out some highlights from last week's edition of the Missourian, provided by Missourian reporter Brooklyn Farnan and news reporter Asher Schlace. You're watching Northwest News.
Here at Tower Yearbook, we are a dedicated staff of photographers, designers, copywriters, and practicum students.
Our staff is a student-led, student-run media outlet, producing a book with over 300 pages. Be sure to pop out at any of our portrait or distribution events.
So stay tuned to our social media to see what's up.
Welcome back, fans, to the best show on KNWT Channel 8, Bearcat Update. I'm your new host, Max Moore, and I don't say that we're the best show because I'm the new host. We have the hardware to prove it.
For decades, Bearcat Update has aimed to be more than just a sports show, but a way to serve and inform the community. Though the technology has changed, we've maintained our persistence to that goal. In Season 75, Bearcat Update is better than ever as we go live every Sunday at 1 p.m.
Welcome back to Northwest News, the place where you can find news and whereabouts on what's happening in the Northwest and Maryville communities. Thanks for sticking with us. This week's online edition of the Northwest Missourian looks into the story of a Maryville High School student who was recently given an impressive new title and a campus talk held on fake news.
Loyal, helpful, kind, some of the values Scouts and Boy Scouts of America hold themselves to. A local Maryville High School student was awarded an honorary title for upholding these ideals.
Delilah Reibel, a Maryville High School senior, received the title of Vice Chief of the Order of the Arrow Council, Service Territory 5. The Order of the Arrow is one of the highest honors a Scout can receive. It is given to members to recognize those who best exemplify the Scout oath and law. the code that Scouts follow in their daily lives. Reibold said she was extremely proud to receive the award.
Delilah Reibold said, "My takeaway from Scouts is that you have to push yourself to succeed. Success doesn't happen on its own. Scouting America has allowed me to experience numerous things outside of my comfort zone on my journey to becoming an Eagle Scout. It has allowed me to become a better leader to those around me."
Reibold is one of 176,234 women in Scouts, over 1 million members, which is approximately 16% of the total members. She said being a woman in Scouts has its challenges.
Reibold said, "At first, it's very difficult trying to navigate my way through Scouts as a girl. The girls were often looked down on, and we were told we weren't allowed to be part of a boys-based organization. This created a sense of competition. As I continue through Scouts, it has become more accepted."
Reibold was a part of the inaugural class of female Eagle Scouts in 2021, putting Reibold in a small group of approximately 1,000 young girls countrywide. Reibold is also Junior Assistant Scoutmaster for the 74G Troop and Lodge Chief of Onai Flow Lodge, both leadership positions in her troop. Reibold hopes to be a Scoutmaster when she turns 18.
Now on to another story from the Missourian. With internet access being found in many households, more people are able to publish their own articles online. This means people need to be cautious and on the lookout for a difference between fact and fiction.
Ask Volk Anything is organized as an open personnel for questions about a specific topic for that evening. The topic for the 6 p.m. October 24th event was media literacy.
One of the panelists was Jason Offit, a senior instructor in the School of Communications and Mass Media. Offit was a journalist for 17 years before he started teaching.
Kyle Miller, associate professor in the School of Communications and Mass Media, was also present, along with Becky Manili, a research and instruction librarian at the B.D. Owens Library. Manili works in digital services and marketing, which includes running its social medias.
A hot topic of the discussion was fake news, which Manili describes as reporting on a fabricated story made on potentially unsubstantiated claims. Offit had a similar definition of the term. Offit said fake news is outright lies meant to sway people's opinions. It's disguised as the truth and it's disguised as news.
Offit said no news source is entirely objective, so it's up to the reader to further research stories. Miller defined fake news as news that is pandering to an audience. He said fake news is not about informing the public, but rather than getting views.
Manili said the B.D. Owens Library has resources to help students become more media literate. She said depending on the topic, different librarians have different experiences with finding reliable sources of information.
Manili said, "I think just by nature of how the information is communicated, it lends itself, unfortunately, to the spread of fake news. But I think social media is a great example, too, of where it can be unintentional."
For more on these stories, check out nwmissourinews.com online or pick up a paper out of the paper boxes on campus.
An unusual guest appeared on Western Australia Beach.
This is thousands of miles from its home in Antarctica.
One expert says the animal may have followed a current north to find different types of food.
A witness who saw it coming out of the water says it waddled up to the beach.
The penguin then slid on its belly, likely thinking it was snow, and face planted before standing back up and shaking the sand off.
Australia's Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attraction said the penguin was malnourished. It is now being rehabilitated by a trainer and a registered local wildlife carer.
Emperor penguins are only found in the wilds of Antarctica, but they are increasingly threatened by climate change.
Well, that's all the time we have for Northwest News. Be sure to go to the description below to re-watch certain sections of our show.
And be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for all the latest news and updates. This has been Northwest News. Thank you for watching.